Welcome to the Childcare Director's Chair, the podcast for bold educators who are ready to lead, grow, and shake things up in early childhood education. Whether you're a teacher eyeing that lead role, a lead stepping into leadership, or a center owner dreaming big, this is your space to grow with purpose and leave your mark. Hosted by heart-centered leadership coach Erica Sacoccio, each episode brings you real talk, actionable tools, and a contagious laugh or two, all designed to help you step into your next level with confidence. So pour your coffee, pop in those earbuds, and take your seat, because your leadership journey starts right now in the Childcare Director's Chair.
Hello to all of my beautiful friends out there. Thank you for taking the time to stop in today to the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. If this is your first time on our channel, welcome. My name is Erica. I'll be your host for the day. If you're one of our loyal listeners, you know how much I love you. Thank you for taking, 8 or 10 minutes of your day today to spend with me. So with that, I'll respect your time. We're going to hop into it. We talk about juggling so many different roles and responsibilities as leaders. And this one that I want to talk about today is one that's really near and dear to my heart, and that's pedagogy leadership. And I want to talk about the collaborative side of it. I love teaching, and I know there's a good chance you do too, um, based on the position that you have selected and the career that you have made for yourself. But the collaborative leadership, and I don't want to talk about it in an abstract, right? I don't want to just talk about how to get along as a team, because we talk a lot about that on this show. I'm talking about collaborating as leaders to strengthen teaching, to deepen learning, and to make curriculum come alive in every single classroom. Because I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I feel like my team works in silos, or maybe curriculum goals aren't being met consistently across classrooms. We've had teachers that are, in a class that are really great. And if like you went to sleep and dreamed up a teacher, that would be your dream, right? They're great with parent communication. They're great on the app. They're amazing at curriculum. They're amazing at assessment. They're very detail oriented and make sure that the classroom is clean and everything is, set up just so, right? But that isn't the case for every teacher, every time, in every classroom. So wouldn't it be great if we thought about how we could work together to get everybody to that standard in a way that feels meaningful and honestly, at the end of the day, benefits the children the most? And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to share 10 key strategies that lead to collaboration that will improve the pedagogy in your program, the curriculum alignment, and outcomes for every child. First, I want to talk about aligning around learning goals. Collaboration starts with shared curriculum and learning objectives. And every teacher in your program needs to understand the program's outcomes and how their lesson plan specifically connects to the bigger picture. This alignment ensures consistency and strengthens child development across classrooms. So the folks in the infant room really need to be having intentional conversations with the folks in the toddler room and talking about, you know, here are the developmental milestones. Here's what we're doing to help children achieve that before they move into your classroom. And are there any particular skills that you are struggling with to get kids to that next level? And interact and talking and sharing, because very often in that school year, those students may move up into the next classroom. So being intentional in the way that we are aligning our learning goals. The second thing I want you to think about is observation and reflection time together. I want you to encourage your team members to observe each other's classrooms and reflect on the teaching practices that they see. And I feel like when you're sharing those observations, it allows teachers to learn new strategies, first of all. It also helps them refine their approaches and maintain high quality cohesive curriculum. And we really can learn from each other. Even that teacher that you dreamt up is going to have some spot where she can still learn and grow. And so I think when we watch each other's classrooms and we spend some time, again, intentional time, I'm not talking about you covered during the lunch break. I mean, intentional time that you're going in to watch how the teacher in the classroom where your children will be moving into next is teaching and what they're teaching and how they're teaching it really will help you as you develop your own lesson plans and think about the child's whole journey throughout your program, not just the little bit of time that they're in your room. Because let's face it, they might be in your room for a year. In most cases, it might even be shorter than that. It might be, 8 or 9 months, depending on when they enrolled, depending on their birthday, and depending on your state and what ages can be mixed. And, there's a lot of variables there. But ultimately, your goal is to keep that child with you until they age out of your program. So be intentional about what that looks like, not only for the child, but also the parents, right? Getting lots of pictures and lots of updates in one classroom, and then you go to another classroom and that doesn't happen. That's our expectation that we've set. So let's just get some cohesive. The next thing I want to talk about is co-planning lessons. Like bring your teachers together to co-create lesson plans and learning experiences. Because when educators collaborate on planning, they can integrate the best practices, they can scaffold learning effectively, and they can ensure curriculum standards are consistently met. And I love bringing teachers together, especially when they are working with age groups that are similar. Like, I really like when the pre-K and the preschool teachers get together. I think they really bounce off each other quite nicely. Number 4 in my 10 tips is shared assessment insights. Collaboration about data informed teaching. You want to use that. You want to share that assessment tool and discuss the outcomes as a team. And this will allow your teachers to adapt strategies. You can also identify those gaps in either our teaching practices or the curriculum itself and celebrate learning milestones together. Like, how cool is it when a child starts in the infant room, they can barely hold their head, and before they left that room, they're either crawling, rolling, or walking to the next room. It really is such not only is it so impactful, but really just talks to and speaks to the incredible work that we all do. And so I think it's just really nice because those things are often overlooked by so many folks. But I think it's really nice when we come together as a group and say, wow, like, look, you did that. You supported that growth in that child. So kudos to you. And for those of you who are listening right now that are in the classrooms, I want to take a minute to and acknowledge you because the work that you're doing is impactful. And I know maybe it doesn't always feel like it. And sometimes you might feel like, oh, am I making a difference? And the answer is yeah, you are. I'm sure a story at the end of this episode, but the answer is you are. Number 5 is you should facilitate cross classroom projects. Encourage projects that span multiple classrooms, like a joint STEM experiment or literacy circles. I mean, how cool is that to have your immersion readers go into the next room and read a story or even read a story to their classmates, depending on the levels that you work with. And even if they make it up and can't read all the words, but they do a picture walk, and they make up their own story based on the pictures on the page. How cool is that? You know? Collaboration at this level enforces, um, you know, what we're trying to do, reinforces your curriculum objectives, and exposes children to diverse teaching styles and peer learning opportunities. I mean, I started in school age, so this is just like a no-brainer to me. Like, children can support each other's learning. I mean, you see it in Montessori schools where the children are age mixed or programs that just have a lot of age mixed opportunities. And, some programs do that, some don't, but I would be intentional to make sure at least have some of those learning opportunities embedded into your program. Number 6 is I want to really talk about monitoring across expertise levels. Peer new teachers with experienced ones for curriculum and pedagogy mentorship, because collaboration thrives when teachers share their expertise. New ideas meet tested methods, and the team grows collectively. And, I was thinking too, next week, I'm going to do an episode on working with different generations because I think this is a conversation we need to have. There's a lot of assumptions about each generation by other generations. I want to talk about it. And I think, right now we're talking about collaboration and teachers working together, especially when it comes to using some of that wisdom from years of experience and some of those fresh perspectives that maybe a college student is learning right now or who just graduated. And, there are some newer best practices or some additional methods that you may not know. So keep in mind that everybody should have a voice in your program. 7, keep the children's experience central. Every collaboration, every decision should answer this: how does this improve teaching and learning for the children, right? Centering discussions on child outcomes ensures collaboration is practical and purposeful and not just like a process that you're putting in place. Like, oh, yeah, this sounds great. And all the adults are at the table. And, I saw this on Pinterest. I learned this in college. I have this in my favorite book. Make sure it's practical and purposeful. And it really is child centered. Number 8 is encourage reflective dialogue. You should host regular pedagogical decisions and discussions, not staff meetings. Like ask what worked, what didn't, how did your approach affect the children's engagement or learning? No, I'm a little tongue tied today. But how did it work? And I think just having those discussions that are based on your curriculum and not on the other things, not who came in late, not who didn't wear their uniform, who didn't close down the room right. Like reserve that for something else. I think you should have regular discussions. Where can you have them? We don't have enough time. We don't have everybody together. Make a discussion board. However you communicate with your team electronically, maybe you do it there. Maybe you shoot a video from your office, you put it on your private Facebook page or communication tool, and then ask a question and have people answer it after they've watched the video. There's a million ways to do it. My point is make sure you're doing one that works and keep that conversation going because it's all great to have a rah 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 September 1st or the first week of September, and then you don't talk about curriculum in a meaningful way for months. Don't do that. Don't be that director. I want you to be that director that your teachers really can count on and really can learn from. Because again, leadership. And we got to show the way. We got to know the way. We got to go the way, right? The awesome John Maxwell there. Number 9 is integrate professional learning into practice. Transform those PD sessions into team-based curriculum labs. How fun is that? Just even the word, the name. Instead of saying, hey guys, you want to go to a PD or you want to have a meeting, why don't you call it something fun, like a curriculum lab? You've already got me going, what is that, right? Share new strategies. This is where new strategies are going to be tested and adapted collaboratively. This is where collaboration, grounded in teaching, learning, and real classroom application come together. Sounds fun, doesn't it? I can't wait to hear from all of you. Join us over in the leadership group if you put together one of these labs. Let us know how it goes. What did you learn? What did you discover about your team? What did you discover about yourself? And last in my tips is document. Document, document, document. Document and share successful practices. Encourage teachers to document effective lessons, routines, or strategies and share across the team. This creates a living curriculum library, and it strengthens consistency, and it supports that professional growth that I know that you want your team to have. So before I do my call to action and my closing thoughts, I said somewhere around tip number 3 or 4, are you making an impact? So I know this has happened to all of us. This happened to me literally 2 days ago. I went to the grocery store and I saw this young lady and I looked at her and I said, that has to be Hannah. And she was on the phone, so I didn't want to be rude. So I let her continue her conversation. She started walking. I continued shopping. We get out into the parking lot. I'm putting my groceries away into the car, and she's starting to walk to her car. And I pulled up and I said, is your name Hannah? And she took one look at me, and her face lit up like a Christmas tree. And she said, oh my God, Miss Erica. She literally left her car, door open, ran to my truck, and gave me the biggest hug. I have not seen this young lady in about 12 years. It took her about 2 seconds to recognize me. 12 years. Okay. So I know there are days that are hard. I know I feel you. I can feel you right now. I know there are days that are hard. And this week, you're probably pretty excited because it's September. We all get excited, especially if you're in New England. But I want you to remember this, right? And if you're midway through the fall or you're in a winter funk and you need to come back to this episode, come back to it. Mark it as one of your favorites. Because when you lose your way, when you feel lost, when you feel unappreciated, when you don't think that you're making an impact, I want you to come back here because I want to be the reminder. You are. You are important. And thank you, thank you, thank you for what you do. Now, let me get back on track. This week, I want you to pick any one of these tips and implement it with your team. Maybe a co-planned lesson. Maybe you hold a reflective session or you start a peer observation cycle and track how it affects teaching and learning, and then share your results. And if you're finding these insights helpful, please take a moment, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other early childhood leaders elevate their pedagogy in their classrooms too. I really, really, really do appreciate your time. I'm going to wrap it up. I know today's episode was a little long. I hope you enjoyed it. But collaborative leadership isn't just about being the friendliest boss or running the most smooth staff meetings, but it is about leading your team to teach better, to plan better, and create meaningful learning experiences for our children, my children, your children, the world's children. When collaboration is centered on curriculum, pedagogy, and child outcomes are going to be amazing. Your entire program will elevate, and you will see the impact in every child's growth. Thank you for joining me today. Keep leading with purpose, stay reflective, and always put learning first. Thank you for tuning out from the Childcare Director Share podcast. Have a great day.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Childcare Director's Chair, where we believe leaders aren't born, they're grown. If something sparked for you today, share it, shout it out, or pass it along to the next bold changemaker in childcare. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with Erica Sacosio for more real talk leadership tools and a whole lot of inspiration. Until next time, lead with heart, grow with fire, and always remember, the chair is yours. Now own it.